edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder. This is the show we talk about sports with comedians. So let's jump into it because we got a lot to talk about today. First, my man Talent is in the building, one of New York's finest. T, how you doing, sir? How's everything, bro?
You know I'm doing good, Frank. Check this out.
Okay, I see you. Hold on, let me
check this out, baby. It's just comedy. The Big C from Champion Hybrid joint. Look at this joint right here. Come on, C for comedy, though.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. I'm doing fantastic, man. Wait till I sell these suckers in Baltimore. Wait.
They're gonna definitely move. They're gonna definitely move. My man Rodney Perry's in the building too. We got to be scared about that, Uncle Rodney.
Thank you, Rodney. Rodney gave me the connect. Look at this.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that.
I like that.
Rodney
too.
gave me the connect, man.
My man Mike Shine's also in the building. Mike, what's happening? How you doing, sir?
What up, fellas? Dope hoodie.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. I like how, as Mike is rehabbing, his hair's growing. I love that. This is great. It's the pandemic 101 all over.
Right. How much hoodies, though, D? How much the hoodies?
Huh?
How much are the hoodies?
Oh, these if you're
$4,500.
So $50. If I mail them out, $70-$80, depending on where you're at. But if you at the live shows, I always charge less.
Got you, my man.
You already paid to get
the was also in the building. Mo, what's happening, bro? How you doing, sir?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? Hey, Talent, bring me one. I'm serious. Bring me one up. 3X. I need one. Matter of fact, make it a 4X.
Okay. Say less, man. Hopefully, I don't sell out on your ass, Mo. They're already out in Baltimore. Let me see. Whatever I got left, 3 or 4, I'm bringing it your way, brother.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so
I don't even carry no 3X in my shit.
We got
Listen, hey Ronnie, I'm telling you now, you need to start. Fat lives matter. How come only the skinny people? How come only the skinny people? How come only Frank and Mike?
They be like, I know you ain't got mine. I'm like, you right.
That's a damn shame.
All right, we got a lot to talk about, man. Let's jump into this, man, because there's so much that happened. I know you all saw the game last night. I got to give credit to my man Michael Sean, man, because I was getting ready to watch the game, taking my time to cut on the game, and Mike called me and said, "Frank, cut on the game. You see what happened?" I'm like, nah. I cut it on, and I saw what we all saw. Damar Hamlin, Bills player, ended up collapsing on the field during the game last night. I got a lot to talk about with this game. T, first tell me where you were and what your first initial thoughts were after you saw the collapse and all that other stuff that happened on the field. What was your thoughts about that, T?
Well, first of all, I was at my local watering hole, sitting with one of my best buddies who I watch all the games with when I'm home during the week. And we're watching the game, bro. And when I tell you, it looked like a sense of exhaustion at first look. Because he kept moving regular after got up, jumped up, and it was like a whoo. Like, keep in mind, I just went through this with my son. Mm-hmm. This exact thing that they just did. So when that EMS truck was on that field, I said, and the amount of time it took, I said, this brother's gone. I said, he's going, and they're working on it. He went out. He flatlined. They out there compressing it, and there's a couple of things going on. We don't know if it's pre-existing yet. They're still determining that. But what we do know is where he got hit in the chest and the combination of the timing. I didn't know this. They didn't even tell me this with my son. But the way your heart beats and the blood flows, there's these slight-ass milliseconds that if something hits you in that area during these little down peak times or whatever from the pumping of the blood and the beating, and it's milliseconds. That this can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
So as soon as I seen the time it took, Frank, and how they were handling it, you can tell behind the scenes the league was scrambling. Never seen nothing like it. The league was scrambling what to do because they stopped replaying it real quick, right? And you're like, oh, they won't go back to it. They put it on the announcers to keep talking with a shot of the arena. And then I put my phone up because I wanted to see it again, see if it's something I missed. And you couldn't pull a video on the phone right away.
Yeah.
So they had clamped down like that. The NFL was like scrambling, like, how are we going to do this or whatever case may be. You knew no matter what, they was going to wheel him out of there, hooked to some tube or something saying, we're taking him to the hospital. They were not going to announce this man is gone on that field. That was not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You were not going to hear that he died, even though I did think he died in the field. But Rodney Perry, it looked like the news was reported that he had a cardiac arrest on the field after he had the hit. We can talk about that and everything else. Where were you, and what was your thoughts when you first saw it? And we'll continue to talk.
Ironically, I was in the emergency room with my daughter, and she was feeling some chest pains, and she was worried. Turns out it was a bit of anxiety, but we can't dismiss that. Even as parents, And so we were in the emergency room for like 8 hours last night, and of course, I got my fantasy team up. We're in the playoffs. Josh Allen, I got Cook, and I got T. Higgins, who was involved on that play. And so I'm looking at it on my phone, and I'm like, the game is postponed. What's going on? So I called my buddy. He's like, yeah, they stopped the game. I thought it was weather. But it turns out it was this young man going through a major life-changing event. So I send my prayers out to his family and friends, but I mean, that's the game we play too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. Mike, Sean, give me your thoughts on obviously where you were. I know you were watching the game, and tell me what your initial thoughts were when you saw everything happen. And then basically after you called me, because I know you were really shocked about this too. So talk to me.
Well, it happened so fast that after the tackle was made, I was watching the game, and I turned around to grab my Diet Coke and take a sip. When I turned back, he was back on the ground. So I'm thinking what everybody else is thinking, because I didn't see him collapse. I just see him on the ground. So I'm thinking this is a concussion, a major concussion. They're running out there to see what's going on. Then it seems like seconds later, they're talking about they're giving him CPR. And that's when I'm realizing that this guy's fighting for his life. What Talon said about the milliseconds is so fascinating in a tragic way, is that you wonder why this doesn't happen more often, like in boxing, when they're constantly hitting each other, and why this doesn't. I'm glad it doesn't take place. I'm glad it's rare, but it's scary to know that a hit to the chest at the right moment can cause this type of trauma, which just emphasizes how dangerous this game really is. And quickly, and I mean quickly, Joe Buck and veteran announcers tried to fill time. The team at ESPN Sports Center tried to fill time. I would like to applaud Ryan Clark for doing an amazing job on how he explained how players are not built to deal with this situation. That man deserves some type of nomination for how passionate and how clear and concise he was on what players are trained to deal with and what they're not trained to deal with. Through all the emotion, that man was so eloquent on how he filled up that moment with accurate information and made me realize what these players really go through and how traumatic that situation really was, even though I knew it was traumatic. But the way he explained it was amazing. Like Ryan Clark, a man who basically is a rookie compared to the rest of these announcers, did an outstanding job in his position yesterday in ESPN. And through this tragedy, I just want to applaud him for what he did.
Yeah, we're going to circle back to that in a second, though, because you're 100% right with that one. Mo, talk to me, man. Tell me where you were and what your initial thoughts were when you first saw this, because I think what we initially thought versus what actually happened is not the same. Like Damar Hamlin actually had a cardiac arrest on the field, bro. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't get the TV on until after the ambulance, because I was, I'm still here at the hotel. And I was ready to start my shift, and so I took a nap. And when I turned the TV on, let me see what the score is. Everything had already happened, so I thought he was like hurt real bad, or like somebody said earlier, concussion. And then as I started to listen, I was like, wow, this is crazy, because nothing like that's ever happened. I've never seen nothing like that in a football game, and it was shocking. I went to my phone when I got downstairs, and I did get to see the replay of it, on somewhere on YouTube, and it was like, it looks like it could be a concussion, and then I'm like, wondering, like, man, how did that happen? I just felt real bad. And the thing is that you watch the players, because somebody said it, it's a brotherhood. They're brothers. Some of them people there, are closer to each other than they are to their own family. And we all got people like that, not a lot. I got friends or whatever who are closer to us than certain family members, so yeah, it's hard to, take that in.
So Talon, let me ask you this, bro. I'm gonna come back to each one of you all. I'm gonna circle this. Let me ask you this question. How does the NFL now handle this situation moving forward, and how are you feeling about how the NFL handled last night? You know what I mean? Two-part question. I'm gonna ask each one of you. The reason why is because I think it took the NFL. Now we're gonna talk about the announcers and how they handled this and everything else. We're gonna talk about Skip Bayless after. But how do you feel right now how the NFL handled the situation? Because it took them an hour to cancel the game to me, and it took them maybe 45 minutes too long to me. What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't think so. I got a little insight from people who actually were, at that game connected in Ohio. Credit got to go to, first of all, I'm not mad at how the NFL ended up handling it. And I say ended up because that wasn't their initial goal. Right. They thought they were going to take a 10, 15-minute break and resume play.
Right.
Players wasn't having it. It was you literally, again, if you with the human eye, the naked eye, you're watching a man die in front of you on the field. We can't just wheel him out of here and say, okay, guys, 7-3, let's get back to it. It's impossible if you're a real human being. That's first of all. I think they handled it. I like the way they handled it in the faction of, again, the way they ended up handling it, because less is more in this situation. I'm glad they didn't try to over NFL it and we're going to go on camera and cover our ass. The fact that they played the middle was the right thing to do for more than one reason. First reason is his family. Mm-hmm. First reason is family. You don't broadcast what, even if you knew, you don't say that or handle it that way because his family, his mom was in attendance. This is a 24-year-old young man. So for lack of, like, sometimes they say less is more, this was that case. And I'm glad they didn't jump all NFL-y over it, trying to, do what they can do at times. They've done it at times, and this was not the time. And I could tell that they just said, mum's the word, fill a space, put the camera, whatever, and nobody say nothing. Let's figure this thing out. Let's get them out of there. And I think they did that right, Frank, because when stuff like this happens, if they abruptly just say, oh, like you're saying, he took time. If you do it too fast, it's 60,000 people in the stadium. It could be a problem. Mm-hmm. They did it the right way by saying, you know what, temporarily postpone. So some people sat and waited. Some people started to flicker out, which is what you want. You want a trickle out effect so to avoid any stampede or craziness. And then later on, they finally said, okay, we're officially postponing it, which after all those minutes going by, half the people believe it wasn't going to start back up anyway. So you had least amount of incidents, if you will. So I think they get a B+ on the way they handle it by not trying to win in that moment. This is somebody's life. This is a human being, a young man, 24 years old. Do not try to win right now. Try to be as sympathetic and empathetic as possible. And I think they did that.
So Rodney Perry, he thinks the time of decompression, he has no problem with that. I know you weren't watching the game live, but it literally took the NFL an hour for them to call the game while everybody was decompressing and they were going back and forth. And everything Talent just said was right. Like, they kept switching back and forth. Like, we all knew watching it live how serious it got really quickly because we were watching it live. But we also were sitting there saying, well, it's evident that he's more hurt than what we're seeing and what's taking the NFL so long. And what Talent said might be absolutely right. Maybe they were taking some time for people to decompress. Now, it took an hour because I'm sure you checked into it. What's your thoughts on how the NFL handled it? Do you think the time was adequate? Do you think the decompression time was adequate? Or do you think, since the seriousness of it, because the players are the one, again, you didn't see it live, the players are the ones who decided that they weren't coming back to the field to play. The NFL is, all right, y'all, they said, okay, y'all ready to play. And the players and the coaches met midfield and said, no, and basically said, no, we're not playing. That's how it involved real time. What's your thoughts on this, Rodney Perry?
I mean, let's back it up a little bit. 24-year-old man suffers a heart attack. Let's stop right there. As I was sitting there, again, I'm outside of the bubble. I'm going on YouTube. I'm looking for information about what's going on. And I saw a guy unpacking it in reference to what possibly could have happened, a doctor. And he kept dwelling on the fact that this wasn't a reaction to the vaccine. I don't know if y'all peeked that.
Yeah, people were saying that. Yeah, people were saying that.
Like, yo, this is not to do with the vaccine. I was like, why would you bring that up?
Right.
Okay. Let's step back. Let's look at injuries in the past. We saw Paul George suffer a horrific injury on the basketball court. We saw Joe Theismann suffer a horrific injury. Those games went on.
Mm-hmm.
So as the NFL, you don't have a precedent. You can't say, well, we did this so that blah, blah, so many years ago, so we'll do it now. So I think that ultimately they took an adequate amount of time to go through the process of figuring out what to do with this young man. And when he doesn't get up, you got to stop the game.
Right.
You know, it seems like a freak accident to me. You know, as I look at it, it was a legal hit, his side and the offensive guy's side. And I mean, for a defender to walk out and you're initiating the blow, that's what's crazy. Because a defender is usually protected by his own inertia, his own energy. You know, he's initiating the hit, so he knows it's happening. It's the offensive guy that's usually in trouble. Mm-hmm. So the crazy part is that I was in the hospital, my daughter, 20 years old, and she was complaining of chest pain. And I told her, you are not having a heart attack. You're 20 years old. Your heart is good.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the same thing to this man, but also in reference to what Mike Sean said, the difference is all the equipment. So when I get a hit to the chest, that's like a car wreck. And so, you know, and what Talon said, if it happens at the right moment, it could be life-threatening. I would hope there's not some type of conspiracy when we find out this brother died last night. You know what I mean? I would hope that's not true. But, you know, at the end of the day, man, we can only send our prayers out. He's in critical condition now, but you come out of critical condition.
Yeah,
and I hope he does.
You can. So, Mike Sean, I guess I want to ask you the same question. While it was happening live and you were seeing it live, what's your thoughts on how the NFL handled it? We'll talk about what the athletes said. We're going to talk about Skip Bayless in a second. Right now, I want to focus on how the NFL handled it in real time. And were some people who floated some ideas that, you know, my boy called me up last night and said, man, the NFL is not going to allow this man to die on the field. And if he did die on the field, we ain't going to ever find out about it too. So there is that. What's your take on this, bro? What's your thoughts?
Okay. Logistically, everybody wants the NFL to cancel this game. Logistically, they have affiliates that they have to contact throughout the country to say, if we cancel this game, do you have something to put on your broadcast? So logistically, they got to run through every market to go like, listen, we're about to cancel this game, so it can't happen as fast as everybody wants it to happen. I don't want to sound callous because the main thing here is that young man's health. They attended to him as fast as they could. This is uncharted waters. Nobody knew how to handle this. But they can't just cancel something. Talent made a point. You can't just tell 60,000 people just to go home immediately.
Right.
So there's got to be some time where you have to take care of this situation and you have to take your time. The care, now, if the care was delayed, I'd have a problem with the NFL. But the care, and this is why they made ESPN repeat the timeline a zillion times.
Right.
The timeline was repeated over and over again to the point where it's 8:55 injury occurred, 9:18 game temporary suspended, 9:25 ambulance left the station, 10:01 game officially postponed.
Right.
They need that timeline so people, because everybody's going to second guess this. This has never happened before. I don't know what they wanted the NFL to do. The NFL had to go through the chain of command and say, what do we do? Then go to the next person. You got to do this. Then go to the next person. Make these phone calls. Send these emails. Get these backups. Let's see. Listen, ESPN was up and on. ESPN didn't know what to do.
Right.
When they went back to their announcers were stuck.
Right.
Like,
right.
What do we do? This man almost died.
They didn't even know his name. They weren't even saying his name right.
They had to get all this correct. So to start now saying the NFL should have done this, it never happened before. And y'all know I'm not a big fan of the NFL. Y'all know I would go at the NFL immediately. But how can you get them to plan for something they've never seen or never even had training on? So how do we confirm? What do we do if somebody dies on the field? We don't know. So I don't have a problem with how they handle the postponing of the game. Now, if any emergency situations were delayed because of their negligence, then I have a problem. But I don't know that right now. So I really can't speak on if anybody should be upset on how it was handled.
Mo, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I excuse me, I agree with Mike 100%. This is something that nobody knew what to do. I mean, if it only took them an hour to get everything done the very first time it ever happened live, this is not even a training. This is live fire. Then it's not, I'm not mad at them about it. Hindsight is 2020. You can always look back and say, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? But when you win the moment and you've never been there before, they handled it the best way they could, and I give it to them. And the care to what I'm hearing from the ambulance to the ambulance team who came out and responded, they did everything in a timely fashion,
Right. My man, Dave, the business bully, has joined the show. Dave, how you doing, first of all? How's everything?
Doing good, Frank. No complaints. How are you, sir?
All right. So let me get you sped up to the conversation. The conversation is right now, we obviously are talking about Damar Hamlin and what happened and everything else. We moved on from him collapsing on the field. Right now, we're talking about how do we feel about how the NFL handled the situation with the length of time before they actually officially called the game. Like when they said, look, the game is suspended, and it was the hour after. Everybody had their own thoughts. I'm not sure where you were, how you were doing everything else, but what's your thoughts on the time period and the decompression that was allowed for the NFL to sit there and say, you know what, we gotta officially call this game? What's your thoughts?
You do realize that this is nothing but modern day slavery. So if one of their slaves is just laying out there and they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and they take their time in calling their game because their game is their cash cow. Yeah, I'm not surprised. This is what I have come to expect. And I need everybody to stop acting like, oh, now you're so concerned with the amount of injuries and things that happen, because when you run the numbers and you see how many people who have died, and then when they check for CTE, because you can only check after you're dead, the numbers are astronomical. Y'all don't care as long as everything is going along with the plan. When it's right there in prime time for everybody to see, now all of a sudden, oh, we're so concerned. This game has always been dangerous. The NFL has always been evil, and they're going to continue to exploit us until we start to make other moves, period.
Okay.
Can I ask Dave something really quick? Didn't a wrestler die during an event and the event continued?
Yes, it did. That was 1996. There was no such thing as CTE being prevalent at that particular point. And what had happened was a rig. And at first, they didn't even know that he died. Matter of fact, if you want to take that one, in 2011, Jerry the King Lawler had a heart attack in the ring. And they continued the situation. Absolutely. It's all a money game. However, the difference is when you compare the WWE to professional football, there are other places to go that still you can make millions of dollars and make things happen. There are places where there is ownership and people are looked out of, and they have unions and things of that nature to go to. Whereas though the WWE, just like NFL, only cares about primarily the money. But yeah, the difference is the world ain't watching like it watches football. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, it's a lot more people. All right, let's. I don't want to be callous, but let's talk about this thing. T, I'm gonna ask you this. So the game was postponed, right? I'm gonna talk about Skip Bayless again in a second, how he handled everything else. Let's talk about the football game itself to this aspect. How does the NFL handle what happened last night now? Because that game had a whole lot of AFC implications on the conference setting and the conference seeding. You know what I mean? Like the Bills are playing right now to maintain and try to get the number one seed out with Kansas City. You know what I mean? Cincinnati's playing to try to get that number one seed and everything else. Today's Tuesday. They still haven't played that game from Monday, right? The Bills are now getting ready to play the Patriots this Sunday. So to me, it's really extremely unfair of what's happening right now. And So what should I don't know. What should the NFL do? I don't want to say anything more or less. I'm like, what should the NFL do? Because obviously Damar Hamlin, his situation is dire and everything else. Should the NFL postpone all the games this upcoming week and push it back? Like, what should the NFL do now? Because once the games reside, you know what I mean? The playoffs got to continue. But it wouldn't be fair to Cincinnati, and it wouldn't be fair to Buffalo to make them play this week, because now their week is it's already short now. You know what I mean?
I think the only thing you can do, there has to be some sort of pushback somewhere in the schedule for it to work out. And I'm thinking that's not a bad thing, because by nature we've been dealing with this bye week thing, and that gives us, even when Super Bowl, when the playoffs is over and you go to Super Bowl, you skip a week and go another week, so essentially you got 2 weeks. So to me, I think you got room to push things back a week because of that reason. So I think that you give it a little time before you resume anything. I don't think you can make this team like suit up tomorrow and play, or the day after, and then expect them to be ready for that final week game as well. That's a bit much. We have room and cushion here to play with.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should put that game off and then just focus on this week. And then
focus on this week, and you can always make that game up after that, because all it is really one more game is the deciding factor who leads the conference anyway. So I think you got that extra week to play with down the line. So you got time to get creative. If you give yourself this week to stay on course with this week's games, you got time to line up with however that's going to fall, because it's one game. It's not a whole week for everybody.
No, but it's not. But that, like I said, that one game has a whole lot of implications on the rest of the AFC and the seeding. So
that's nothing though. This week you play a game again, and it's still going to have to implicate. Both these teams got to play this week.
Yeah, but the problem is if Buffalo and Cincinnati played, right, and they played the game, people would know who's in and who's out. So if you're playing your starters or you're playing your not starters. That's the implications that game had all across the top part of the AFC. And that's why
the only difference, Frank, is that they were playing each other. So you won't get that for your deciding seeding. You'll get seeding this week. You're just a week off of the seeding, but just because those two teams didn't play each other, they still got to make that game up. But this week will become what Monday would have been as far as deciding for both teams.
Right. I guess, yeah, in some instance. I understand what you're trying to say. I'm just thinking that, Rodney, if they don't play, people
Hold on a second. What I'm trying to say, I'm not a concussion protocol. I'm perfectly fine with a cup of coffee up here. I understand what you're trying to bring in the paramedics. I'm okay.
No, what I'm saying is that their team
I'm just messing.
From people who are sitting there saying, okay, especially fantasy players, like, you know what I mean, in fantasy football league, they're like, yo, my guys gonna play this week because they probably sit down.
All due respect, gamblers and fantasy football people need to shut the hell up. This is somebody's life. We can't be worried about your fantasy numbers.
No, I 100% agree, but I will whoop
a fantasy ass if somebody bring that up to me. Man, if you don't sit your fantasy ass down, you Mr. Rock, sit your Mr. Rock tattoo ass down. We praying for this brother.
So, Rodney Perry, what do you think the NFL should do, man? Because this game has to be played.
The game has to be played, and it really needs to be played this week. I think they should play the game Thursday.
Yeah, but what about Sunday's game?
Hold on, we're there for the infrastructure. I think the infrastructure is in place to play Thursday one game, and then you move the next game to the next Thursday. So you got the game that happened on the game that's supposed to be Monday will go to Thursday, which is Cincinnati and Buffalo, and the following game, which is Buffalo, was 2 games. It's Buffalo and New England, right? Yeah. That would have been Sunday.
Right.
So move that to Thursday. And who was Cincinnati had played?
I didn't even look.
So it could be 2 games on that following Thursday.
I guess you could do that.
But then Cincinnati got the Ravens.
Right. And they have all that stuff need to be played. And or if you Buffalo, you're not about to sit out because you got a great season. You're not about to sit out.
Mhm.
You know, they're not about to sit out.
And keep in mind, both these
Yeah,
two
he's saying
games are home
something.
games for Cincinnati, Rodney. Keep in mind, both these last 2 games are home games for Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's definitely a fact.
You got to do it Thursday. Thursday is built to catch that game.
Yeah,
You trying to make more money?
They
You trying
do
to
it
make more money
Sunday.
for Amazon
Well,
Thursday?
Well,
It's prime night, ain't it?
yeah, it's prime night.
But then you can buy stuff too at a whim. I love Amazon.
Michael Sean, how you think the NFL should handle this, bro? How you think they should handle
it? Yeah. The funny thing is we are the hypocrites of all hypocrites. We're like, yo, the main thing is that this guy gets healthy, but we need these games to be played.
I don't even think that's hypocritical. I just think
Games are going to get played whether you like it or not.
What needs to happen is they need to stop now, pause now for another week, then do this week again and start it with the build. Listen, bottom line.
What about the rest of the teams though, Mike Sean?
Like that's why I'm saying you got to pause everything because it's a domino effect. Every game affects another game. Every time you do, the logistics of it is so crazy. This is what I'm trying to say. Nothing is simple. Everything is interlinked. Everything is these stadiums are booked for certain days.
Right.
Everything is booked for certain days. That's why, listen, none of us are going to be totally right because the NFL is probably going to look at us like, y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about. All I can say is stop now. Nobody plays, no NFL until we figure out what we're going to do. And the week starts with Buffalo and Cincinnati. That starts and we take it from there. It's almost like the NBA going into the bubble out of nowhere and everything had to pause. We had to take it from there. There's going to be adjustments. But this is when I tell you, when you just talk about the business side of $1 billion industry, this complication is so nuts that we don't even understand everything. Because if they were to pause everything the way I'm saying it, this could literally have them have to change the date of the Super Bowl. It could literally change.
They're not going to do that.
But what I'm saying is if they pause if this young man, God forbid, passes away, a week ain't going to change nothing for the Bills. The Bills ain't going to be the same. The Bengals ain't going to be the same.
That's right.
None of these teams are going to be the same.
The Bills going to got to suck it up.
But
what he's saying
I'll tell you what they're going to do, Mike Sean. I'm not saying I'm thinking that way, but the NFL is going to be like,
yeah, but if somebody dies on their thing, that will affect them.
But
Go ahead,
this
Mike.
is what I'm saying. Then I don't want to hear that the NFL is ruthless and they're slave masters because we want the games.
Right.
They're just feeding into what we want.
No. I'm saying protect the shield at all costs. And that's what they do. They don't give a damn if nobody dies.
But they only protect the shield is because we want it. Like when Taylor said, sit your fantasy ass down, you don't think they're really people who are thinking about their fantasy teams for real, in real life?
Hey, man, my team won. My team won and we wasn't going to lose.
Mo, what's your take? Hold on, Rodney. Mo, what's your take on this, bro? What do you think the NFL should do right now? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, exactly what Mike Sean said, if one game affects, it interconnects with all the other games, and it interconnects every single week, this point moving on. So should the NFL pause everything and move everything back? But they can't in one sense because the Super Bowl is going to happen. That date's locked in. They're not moving the Super Bowl, no matter how you do it. So what you think the NFL should do?
My gummy just kicked in. So my gummy just kicked in real good too. So I'm like,
you want me to hit you back? Want me to come back?
No, I'm good. I've been listening to y'all. I just can't keep up with the numbers too well, but I want to see the game too. I think they're going to play it eventually. I don't know what they should do, but they're going to figure it out. Stuff is going to get moved around. Yeah, that's all. Eventually, stuff will get the NFL. The one thing the NFL know, they can just step in and the networks is going to listen to them. And they got it like that. It ain't gonna be common. They trying to listen, everybody sitting here talking about what's gonna happen. They sitting back right now talking about what's gonna happen too. The job still has to go on.
Dave, the business bully.
Yes, sir.
Bully.
That's
business bully.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you this. looking at it from an NFL perspective, because this is what the conversation the NFL is having right now as we speak. Yes, they're concerned about Damar Hamlin, but they're trying to figure out how they can continue to move on these games and everything else. You know, they're sitting there trying to figure this out. So
yeah, I'm just laughing at the Chippendale light in the back, killing me. But
listen, man. I'm only 6 months from Speedo's talent. Don't know.
I've been watching this Chippendale series, and that joint just triggered me, son.
Wow, I've been watching it too.
All right, Dave, talk to me. What you think?
So, Frank, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. Number one, just from the sponsorship loss alone, even if they say, you know what, well, we just got to take the loss, their insurance premiums are going to go through the roof. That's one. Then you got to look at the ad revenue that they would have generated, right? Then you have to figure out, okay, if we are going to do it on Thursday, then we have to do an addendum to the contract that we do with Amazon to put on an earlier game in order to keep everything on track. That, to me, is the only play they have at this point, because they have to right the ship and they can't afford to move anything any other place. It's not like, oh, you know what, we can just reschedule the Super Bowl. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So the best thing that they can do is do a quick off deal with Amazon to do an additional game before the regular Thursday night football game, or do one after the regular Thursday night football game.
That's done. Thursday night already done.
Is it done?
I think Thursday night is done.
No, it's not. No, it's not. They got Thursday night. It's supposed to be this week. But I'll check.
Who's on Thursday this week?
I'll check. I know I saw the hype for a Thursday game this week.
Let me look.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're looking at multiple lawsuits, multiple insurance claims. It's just going to be a nightmare. So the best thing they can do is put it on Thursday or do some type of special type of situation. That's it with another network if they can't knock it out with Amazon. But Amazon makes the most sense.
All right. So now let me go back to talent, man. Let me say,
Hey, Frank, there is no Thursday night game. It just goes to Saturday. Saturday to Sunday.
They got games on Saturday. That's why they can move to Thursday. That's why I said that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes perfect
Even
sense.
if there's not, if they do a deal, you can listen. We could right now, if we wanted to put together some money and rent out a venue.
Thursday night football win.
Say that again, Rodney.
I said that's a win for Thursday night football if you move the Monday night game there.
Right, because you're gonna get a whole lot of subscribers. It's gonna be a whole lot of warm blankets being sold on the side.
All right, so talent. Let me ask you this, man. What was your thoughts? Mike Sean touched on it just for a second, man. I want to bring this up too because Skip Bayless put out a tweet last night, and everybody was upset. And Shannon Sharp got so upset he didn't show up for Undisputed this morning. That show that they have, Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless has a show called Undisputed. For those who don't know, Shannon Sharp was so upset he didn't show up. Skip Bayless put out a tweet last night, literally saying, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of the game, but how? You know, and this late in the season, the game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which seems so irrelevant." People really went up in arms so much that Skip Bayless had to put out an apology tweet, and everybody, and I mean everybody, is trying to get this dude fired this morning. So I guess my question to you is, talent. Looking at the way sports pundits handle this and everything else, do you think Skip Bayless should be fired, or do you think that they should? Because Shannon Sharp looks like he's
hell yes. I mean, excuse me, I'm over here measuring. I'm sorry. Very, very happy with the measurement. I mean, yes. I mean, not to his firing, but this is a long time coming with Skip. Skip has shown me, man, and more in the past couple of years as of the early part when he was with the other show, Skip gets lost in translation a lot. And he's out of touch at times. I don't know if you've seen the last spat that they had where I thought he was out of line talking to Shannon. You know, he had that tone kick in that brings you back to that all the slave movies you ever watched. When the slave master definitively comes down on the slave for whatever reason, he hit him kind of with that across the table where Shannon was trying to be clear and put the glasses down. Said, "Put your glasses back on." Like Negro, where you going? And they got into it, and I was like, you out of line comparing this man's Hall of Fame career because he's not Brady. It was an argument over Brady. So this doesn't surprise me, this thing coming out here now. And he's learning the human side. Again, you know what this whole incident has on everybody? It's a first timer.
Right.
So because it's the first time ever, people are learning that you got to be careful from human to sport. And Skip's been so embedded in, I'm this sport technician, and what I see is gold and all that. He's losing pieces and pieces each week to the human element. Now, here is a case that's all human element. The football player said, we're not going back out there. This is crazy. Everybody's in tears. The opposing team's crying. The team he belongs to is crying. Like the people upstairs in the booth, they're showing everybody people are at a loss, and you come out and say, well, damn, this is an important game. We need to play this. Whoa. Rodney Perry, full. Mo, he got to sit that ass down. He's all wrong. And if he loses his job or gets suspended, or whatever the case may be, Bert, I would not be surprised. This is a long time coming. He's desensitized.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think he's getting his age is catching up to him. But Rodney Perry, what's your take, bro? Should Skip Bayless be fired for his insensitive tweet he did last night? Because everybody's calling for his resignation.
If we can give some leeway to the NFL, we can give some leeway to Skip Bayless. I mean, we're all processing this stuff real time. Somebody need to take his damn phone away from him, though. Skip Bayless, an old ass man, he ain't got no business tweeting and shit. Okay, this reminds me of the great Howard Cosell. Many years ago, he told that boy, "Look at that little monkey go." He did. And guess what? Yeah. A beloved Howard Cosell got fired. Right. So is this tantamount to that? Is this the same level? Maybe so, because the guy's life is in jeopardy, and we're processing it right now, and we can't figure out what to do with the football game. So what he was saying is the question we just had before, which is, what do we do next? And what he was ultimately, this is a lot to process, So I get where he was trying to go, but the way it read, the timing of it was unacceptable.
Yeah, it was definitely within the heat before he even got to the hospital.
Let me tell you something. He should have put that damn hot wing down and read that tweet again before he sent it off.
He definitely should have. Mike Sean, what is your take, bro? You watch the sports guys like I do. You know what I mean? Being in the media like I am. Insensitive thought. What's your take?
All right, let's read this. This is why America right now has no reading comprehension. No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems irrelevant.
That's what he said.
He just said what he just said now seems irrelevant because of the young man's situation.
Right.
He just said what he just put out there is irrelevant. I don't understand. Listen, I would love to see Skip Bayless fired. But if you can read and comprehend in this statement, he's saying what he just said no longer is important. If you have reading comprehension. And then he repeated, nothing is more important. An hour later, he says, nothing is more important than that young man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. I'm sorry if that was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I pray for him and will continue to. I would love to see Skip fired. Should he have put not right now. But should he have taken? He's telling you what a lot of people would have thought before they realized the severity of this man's injury, of what happened.
I disagree with that, though.
But there's nothing to disagree when he's saying it now.
Mike, it is something to disagree with, because if you know what you're saying is irrelevant, you do not say it. Like, I can't say I hate Spicks and Jews, but right now that's not important. I'm not saying that right now. I'm not saying that right now. I'm not saying because right now, blah, 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 Cinco de Mayo. Everything doesn't matter. Once I say the thing that's derogatory or insensitive, you can't put a caption on the end of said statement and think you cleaned it up.
Wait, we just did a whole segment 10 seconds ago saying how we want these games.
Yes.
And we didn't even say that's irrelevant. We just said
this man is talking about this specific game. Look at the timing of the tweet. He's talking about this game being played right now as we know this man's passed out. None of us agree with that.
But what I'm trying to say is what he is meaning here is that what happened has put everything in its proper perspective. Should he have put that tweet out? No, because nobody's going to comprehend it correctly. What's really crazy is that people want to cancel him when he's saying in his own tweet, he's saying what he just said is irrelevant. I want Skip Bayless fired for a multitude of things, but this particular thing, I don't think he should be fired for.
Mo, what's your take?
Skip is reckless. Skip is reckless. And if this ain't the thing that if he meant something else, too bad. He got a multitude of other things that make this one thing seem like it's time to go. Skip is, he's on Sit Your Ass Down too this week. I already put one on my, go to my TikTok, Mr. Sit Your Ass Down. Skip is reckless. You don't listen. He needs to go. It ain't like when he go, he ain't gonna be okay. He gonna start a podcast and he gonna have viewers. You know, so and that's just what's gonna happen. He's gonna transition from one job to another. But even if this ain't that magnitude, he got a whole list of other things that he did to make this one say it's time to go.
Dave, what's your take on this?
Skip Bayless is trash, has always been trash. He's nothing but the next Jimmy the Greek. I can't stand him. I don't like the fact that he sits up there and does culture vulture things, you know, the whole, he's drip Bayless. But again, you Negroes allow Skip Bayless to run reckless. You Negroes continue to support Skip Bayless no matter where he goes, because if we're being honest, all Undisputed is a rip-off First Take. Same formula. You know, black guy.
That was his show. That was his show, though.
I understand, but it's the same formula. What I'm saying is, I didn't say he ripped it off. I'm saying it's the same formula. Black guy, white guy, bad bitch. So, like, at the end of the day, this is exactly what he does. It just amazes me how many people are shocked by this behavior. We have let this man run rampant for the better part of 3 decades. This man barely made it out of JV basketball. It's not like he's an actual athlete.
Well, he's not playing. He don't have to play to talk about playing.
No, he don't got to play to talk about playing, but he talks as if he understands certain things. He does not have the understanding of a Hall of Famer like Shannon Sharp to sit there and tell him what he should and should not say. But at that moment, he realized that this Negro got uppity on my show. And that's what winds up happening. So everything after that has the stink of Bayless on it. That's why while Michael Swan is 100% right, he's not correct. Because it's not that what he said wasn't good. It was that it came from him. Sometimes you can say the absolute truth, but because you're an asshole, you can't really, nobody wants to hear it from you. And from a cultural standpoint, that's why Skip Bayless is trash, because it doesn't matter what he said. He could say, we wish him all the best. It'd be like, Skip Bayless, again, he's saying stupid stuff, because that's what he does 9 times out of 10.
Dave, we got a new militant on the show, and it is you, bro. Like, you definitely militant. You take it to the foot.
Thank you, Frank.
No, you didn't. No, you did not have. He got an audience in the background.
Yeah, he sure did. Which is the thing. I don't think it's a black or white issue. Honestly, I think it's a stupid issue. That's what I think it is. But Talent, let me just ask you this final question, man, because the time is moving on and everything else. We talked about the games. We talked about the NFL. We talked about. My last question is what is it? How is this? How do you think it's gonna affect the psyche of the Buffalo Bills? Because at the end of the day, they all thought their friend and their command, their teammate and everything else died on the field and had to be resuscitated and everything else. At the end of the day, that's how it was going to look, and that's going to affect them, in my opinion, for a while. How do you think it's going to affect them for the rest of the season? Because now they got to play the Patriots, and then they got to play. I think they play the Dolphins last game. I'm not sure. They got 2 more games to play. How do you think that affects them? And they've been trying to go after the Super Bowl for a long time. What's your take?
Well, I think it's going to affect them the same way it affects all of us when we lose somebody. You know what I mean? It takes phases. There's phases. Of first, it's settling in, and you really come into the realization of what happened, and dealing with family. And then keep in mind, for everybody that's ill or passes away, there's services for that. So there's ongoing things off the field they're going to have to deal with just by being a friend and a teammate. However, we do in real life, we do wake up to still go to work. We do still, I got a show this weekend. My aunt died. I still, unfortunately, contracted to make that show. And we work and persevere through it. So I think they're going to have to persevere through it. But I also think that you're human, man. You can't It's not that it's never going to not be there in your heart and your mind and your soul. And you got to work through. This is another thing to work through. It's happening. You take every individual on that organization, and I guarantee you in the last 6 months to a year, somebody's lost somebody.
All right, but the city of Buffalo, let me ask you this, Rodney Perry. The city of Buffalo and the Buffalo Bills have an unusual amount of stuff that they're dealing with. They're dealing with the snowstorm that killed 40 people. They're dealing with the people at the supermarket situation where the guy goes in and kills all these people in the supermarket. And now they're dealing with city of Buffalo and Buffalo team, and now dealing with their player and thing. How does this happen to them on their Super Bowl run? They're trying to get to the Super Bowl. Does this affect them on their Super Bowl run?
Absolutely, it affects you, but it don't have to be negative. Like a good motivator is gonna flip this whole thing and have us playing for Hamlin. You know what I mean? And so I've had some great coaches in my life. I mean, again, I only played on the high school level, but I had a coach when stuff would happen, that would be his speech, and he would be like, "You know what we doing from now on? The rest of the season, 5 more games, we playing for Hamlin." And we saw it with his GoFundMe. He had a GoFundMe out there for his charity. It had $32,000. Now it's got $1 million. $3
million.
It galvanizes the team. Like you know, I've been telling y'all, Buffalo is Buffalo. They gonna lose. This could be the thing that gets them over that hump.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
Rodney Perry's right.
Nothing but great luck.
He's not right. He just said they're going to lose. He's not right, Rick.
No,
They were going to lose. They were going to lose.
He said they were going to lose.
Hamlin energy could make them give them what they need to make it over the hump.
We don't know they was going to lose. See, now we're getting off the facts.
They was going to lose.
Thank God for Michael Sean with the facts.
Michael Sean, City of Buffalo been dealing with a lot. Is this the thing that could galvanize the Buffalo Bills to get them to make the Super Bowl run and actually win? Or do you think it's going to affect their psyche and make them fall off and lose? Like, you know, some people are saying it could happen. What's your take, Mike?
You know, I think because they're football players, we forget that a player who sees this on the field might be a little hesitant on the field now. This is the first time they've seen somebody have this. Roddy says no, because they're not human beings. Watching somebody die,
you don't need to be out there.
Like watching, like you don't need to be out there. This is what we think these people are. We think they're literally robots. Like you talk about a dude watching somebody on a regular hit, and you don't think somebody on that team or together, they're not going, damn, you could really die.
You know what they thinking? They thinking themselves, that nigga weak.
Hold on. NFL just released a statement, and the NFL just officially said that the game is not going to resume this week. The NFL says that, so this game is not going to happen this week. So they're going to probably start focusing on next week. So this just came out from the Washington Post and ESPN. So
yeah, they're going to be at a disadvantage, and you could rah all you want, and you could do a Vince Lombardi all you want in that locker room. But the fact of the matter is, if you lost a friend like that, some people were going to take it one way, and some people on that team are going to take it another way, and we're never going to know exactly who took it what way. So yes, is it going to be unfair for the Bills? It absolutely is, and it's going to be unfair for the Bengals, who have a wide receiver who did a regular move and lowered his shoulder. And don't you think that in the back of his mind, he's thinking that maybe I'm the reason why this man is dead or could die?
Or could die. Yeah, 100%. Mo, what's your take, bro, on this whole thing? Do you think it's going to affect the Bills and their Super Bowl run?
Mo,
word, I am.
Look at Mo, come down to earth. Come back down to earth.
Listen. You know, I'm trying to. I don't want to sound like a crazy man right now, even though I know I do not even be high. I think that's why I get high, so I sound saved. Did that make sense? What was I going to say? Damn.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah.
Good job, Mo.
They're professionals. These are professionals, just like us. You know, we go through things, and they just gonna go into mode, and they're in a job where they know that hesitation can cost them their lives quicker than being reckless on that field. You know, just like us, we go through things in this time when we don't feel like being funny, but we still got to go out there and do that job at a certain point. The job's got to go on, you know, and we kick into a mode where it's like, okay, I'm not 100%, but I'm at a point where the audience don't have to know it.
Right.
They don't have to know it. You know, in my inside, I may not feel it. And the same thing with them guys. I'm not saying they don't feel it, but this is they worked their lives to be here. All they know is football. Like all we know is jokes.
Right.
You know, at certain points. And they're gonna go out there and perform their job because they're professionals.
So, Dave, do you think that it's going to affect the Buffalo Bills players moving forward for the rest of the season and possibly the Cincinnati Bengals, but most importantly, the Buffalo Bills? What's your take?
I think that this has already tremendously affected the Buffalo Bills because this is the most we've ever spent talking about the Buffalo Bills in the year and a half I've been on this show, Frank. So, like, already it's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's still the Buffalo Bills, Frank. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can rally right now. Listen, I've lost a tremendous amount of weight, but I'm still not in Speedo gear, which is why talent is thrown off by my Chippendale lights, Frank. But, you know, once the skin gets cut off, though, let me tell you something. Once the skin gets cut off,
baby.
First of all, that's all non-stripper moves.
Yeah, because I haven't got a training yet.
The ladies didn't pay for that.
They didn't pay for that. So I got to.
How do we do it? When coming to the stage, give it up for pulled pork.
Shut your bitch ass up.
Yo,
I'm not here for this fat on fact crime.
Right, that's all this is. This is fuck hate. And I was about to see his big titty ass, my fat clothes. This is what winds up happening when your blood type is gravy.
I'm appalled.
You say stand your ass up and hit a treadmill.
I'm appalled.
Don't get mad, Bully. Don't get mad.
Oh no, I'm not mad. I love Mo. This is my man. What are you talking about?
No.
Going to the stage.
Pulled pork. Watch me come out with a pulled pork shirt too. I ain't even mad. That's
Only on this show can you talk about a man fighting for his life, and one analyst goes, "Come to the stage, pulled pork." Look get back to his hospital.
He's got
the
the sauce.
line of the week. Yo, talent everybody else what you got going on for the week.
First and foremost, people, thank you for checking out Box Seats. By no means do we laugh at the situations happening. We just try to bring life and levity in different ways and manners. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Your boy's going to be heading to Baltimore, Maryland for the Comedy Factory. Come on out. Me and my cousin Ed Love are putting it down. Then Sunday we'll be shooting up to Boston to rock with Frank, Humor Mill, Big Mo, and everybody up there holding it down at Laugh Boston. Get your tickets either way. Come on out. Get your laugh on. Let's start this New York right. Let's go.
There it is, Mr. Rodney Perry.
Wow, I'm in Memphis this weekend, Memphis, Tennessee. You know they got murder every day up there.
And they got pork.
All the pork
with barbecue sauce.
Oh, shout out to Gangsta Boots people, right? Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, man, people is going, man. It's been a very tumultuous year. 22 was for comedy. I'm glad we're moving into 23. Let's take care of ourselves and be great. Rodney Perry Live on all social media.
There it is, Michael Sean.
Don't ever sell your townhouse to somebody who has an attorney on retainer. That's it.
My man, the business bully.
Yeah, man. I'm excited, man. This month I'm heading to North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm doing Carolina Ballistics. They have a podcast out there. We're talking about guns and business, so I'm excited about that. Now I know why Uncle Rodney has that civil rights haircut. He's heading to Memphis. He's playing Martin Luther King.
This is some young shit.
No, it's not. As a young man, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. You look like you're ready to get to the mountain.
I will say this. My face is bigger. Like
Rodney,
face used to be right here.
Hey, Rodney, Dave said that's an Abernathy number 3.
Abernathy didn't have no. This is an Usher face.
Oh, there's a mohawk in the back. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't finish with your Floby. I didn't even know. Okay, my bad.
This is the whole thing.
It's nice. It's nice, man. It's nice.
Why you being a hater?
I'm not.
I like it.
I told him, I went to the barber. I said, give me a business bully and hurry up.
Listen, nah,
I just got one question. How much do they charge to come to your garage and do that?
This crap, I'm glad you asked. $70.
Oh, you need 63 of that back.
Wow.
First of all, not
He got the brush.
I know Mike John, but I will sponge this mug for him.
Kevin Hart. Twisted up coat.
Yo, we out of here. We got Mo. Tell everybody how they can follow you, bro.
Oh man, listen, sit your ass down. TikTok Mo_comic. That's it. Y'all done blew. It's good. Oh, this is fun being on gummies right now.
Oh my God.
Yo, we out of here. Thank y'all for watching. The Box Seats coming on
Great
at
show,
7 and 11 again tonight. We'll be back in tomorrow on the Humor Mill channel. Also on this live, everything else. That's Rodney. That's Mike. That's Talent. That's Dave Bisbee. That's Bo. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Wow, hilarious. Woo.